First of all, thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Schwarck. I am based in Israel and I am 56 years old. So I'm going to tell a part of my story with you, and it was a pivotal moment for me. In 1991, I was taking a personal development seminar, and I didn't really want to. I was kind of, very afraid, and I was attentive, and I wasn't sure, but somebody really pushed me. And it was on a Monday night. We were doing an exercise, and the exercise was requiring us to talk about what do you want in your life, and then it was asking a follow-up question that had to do with the experience that we were looking for. And I was shouting at the top of my lungs for about 5 minutes when I realized that it was possible for me to have a different life, that it was possible for me to overcome my childhood abuse that I had experienced at the age of 8 years old. I was abused by my father sexually when I was 8 years old. And as a result of that, I had grown up to be very insecure. I didn't know who I was. I was afraid to let people in. I didn't know what it meant to be loved. I was confused. And all the things that we know that come with sexual abuse or any kind of trauma and abuse. And up until that point, I wasn't really sure, and I didn't really know that it was possible, that there was some way that I could overcome this abuse. And in that moment, when I really connected truly deeply with my heart, something opened, a door opened for me, and I realized that it was possible, and that the people that I needed to support me, the people that would guide me, the people that had done this work, that had traveled down this path, would appear for me. And I made a commitment. I set an intention that one day I was going to be able to forgive my parents, because of course, my mother had a part in it, even though she wasn't actively involved with the abuse. She played the part of the way that she responded to me, and the way that that she set the stage. Mm. That someday I was going to be able to live freely, because it wasn't about the abuse, it was about me. So I give you a little bit of another story that is related. So here we are decades later, and I've been working with myself and on myself really diligently. And about 2.5 years ago, my father was laying on his deathbed. I went to him on New Year's Eve. I went to Germany, and it was important to me. And I had prepared for this for years. And I had the conversation with him, and I asked him, Dad, now that you're looking to leave this planet, how are you prepared? Have you completed all the things that you need to complete? And he started to talk about the therapy that we did together many years ago. I had agreed to do some therapy with him, and he told me how grateful he was that that I had agreed. And I remember how hesitant I was back then, and how I barely could, get myself to do it. But I was a different person. I know who I am, and I was strong in myself. And I said to him, but Dad, did you forgive yourself? Were you able to let go? Because that is really when the cycle is complete. I've forgiven yourself. And he started to cry, and he started to cry like a little boy. And it brings tears to my eyes, because I started to cry, and now that I'm recalling the story, it brings tears to my eyes, because I was able in that moment to hug him and to love him like I had before the abuse had happened. And in that moment, I was free, and I let go. And then in the coming months, when I would be sitting in his bed, I could hold his hand, and I could be with him freely, because we both had healed from it. Because abuse, of course, is something that gets passed on. It's not like someday somebody wakes up and decides, okay, I'm going to be a racist, or I'm going to abuse somebody, or I'm going to be homophobic. So I know that it's important to complete the cycle.
You have touched on, wow, so much in just a few moments. And I am so happy that you and your dad managed to find peace and forgiveness. They say that when you forgive someone else, it does more for you than the other person. And the reason why I put together this podcast and this Her Story TV show is so that if there is somebody who's listening to us right now, they could be online at home, they've gone through a similar experience, they can learn from you what you learned. I sense a stillness, a calmness, a sureness about your very being. If you could go back to that little girl, the younger woman who went through this experience in your life, and give her some words of advice, what three nuggets of wisdom would you give her? What have you learned from this experience?
I think first of all, I would let her know how loved she is, and that she's okay, and give her the sense of you're loved, you're okay, and we will get through this together. No matter what we need to do, we can recover from this, and assure her, really assure her that she's okay. That would be what I would tell her, and that really that she's so loved, and that I have her back, and that I will take care of her, no matter what. That's what I would tell her.
Fantastic. Now, this led on to your life's work. You have had an incredible life and now living in Israel. Tell me a little bit about your work, how you help other people. Take us into that world for a few minutes.
So the person that really helped me after I had the seminar was somebody that was a psychologist who practiced a type of psychology, was kinesiology. And the whole idea was to look deep in the patterns and the unconscious, and look at what patterns we have created based on the experience that we've had, the trauma that I experienced. And today I am practicing my own style of coaching, and it combines kinesiology, emotional intelligence, strategy, coaching, and it does exactly that. I look very deeply to help a person with their patterning on the unconscious and subconscious level, because I know that the stories that we tell ourselves are so deep inside of ourselves that they hold us back. So if I believe that I'm not good enough, if I believe I won't be able to do something, or no matter how hard I work, I can't succeed, those are the things that I help my clients neutralize, and actually pretty quickly. It's actually amazing. And so that they too can create the life that they want, in an easier, more effortless fashion.
Wow.
So it's a miracle. I really, it took me a while to kind of see how powerful it is, but I've been doing it for 20 years with thousands of people all over the globe. And I'm always amazed on how quickly we get to those deciding moments in our life that we don't even remember. And on a biochemical level, on the physiological level, we neutralize them, and so that then the neuroplasticity, we can create new beliefs that then move us forward.
Now you talk about manifestation of dreams. I do believe that every human being has got that ability to manifest anything they want.
Right.
But a lot of people are blocked from their own inner visions in terms of bringing them into reality and really making things happen. If somebody was to come to you right now with an outrageous dream that looked so impossible, how would you guide them to navigate from where they are now to where they want to go, or where they want to be?
That's a perfect scenario for me. So there's a couple things we need to do. So we need to check to see if the dream is congruent. And what I mean by that is that they actually believe that they can manifest their own dream. Because remember, there's different levels of our brain. We have the intellectual level, we have an emotional level, and we have the survival part. And if those three parts of the brain are not in alignment with each other, you're going to have a hard time. It's kind of like saying, I'm going to quit smoking, and I'm saying it, but the rest of me emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually, is not in line with it. And most of the time when we have a big dream, because we're stepping outside our comfort zone, the
Yes.
fears, the panic, the anxiety, I'm not good enough, that comes up. So I will do my neuroemotional coaching, where I will align the person with their dream. And then we will have to look at what is the intention, what is the goal, what are our many action steps. And all along, we will look at aligning the person with what they want to accomplish. And so it's an easy journey, and not one of where I have to battle because I'm not really believing in my own goal.
Fantastic. And so what do you do in handling the fear? I know people say just feel the fear and do it anyway, but we have that little crazy voice that plays in our heads that's also holding you back. You have family, you have friends, relatives who are trying to protect you from getting hurt. How do you overcome the fear?
So the fear is always a symptom of something. Okay. And so I want to not treat the fear. I want to deal with the symptom. Once I've dealt with the symptom, okay, then the fear will dissipate and it will be manageable, and so that you can deal with it. Okay. Let me give you an example. So let's say you're in bed and you see shadows on the wall and you're so afraid because you think the shadows are going to come and get you. But the shadows are being, your reaction to the shadows is being produced by you. And so if I can look at where this reaction is coming from and do something about the reaction, the trigger, and neutralize the trigger. And my goal is always, I know this sounds too good to be true, but my goal is always to eliminate the trigger. We eliminate the triggers, okay? Then the shadows are not going to appear. And the more I have eliminated the trigger, the smaller the shadows become. And if the shadow is like a little tiny millimeter, you
Yes.
go, okay, hi shadow,
Yes.
hi. So there's many ways that we can deal with it. But in the lenses that I have on, and you see, I get very excited about it because it's like it saved my life, and I can tell you so many incredible stories of what happened to people. And I don't see myself as that, I'm the vehicle. I'm the one that brings this to people, but the people do the work. The glasses that I have on, my lenses, I always look at if there's no alignment, if you build a house and the foundation is crooked, and you say your dream is to put a roof on the house, we're going to have a hard time, because it's like we didn't put the foundation down. And most of us, most of the coaches, most of the work that people are doing, they do not pay attention to the foundation and what is actually inside of ourselves, and the fight, flight, or freeze that is constantly getting triggered because we didn't deal with that.
Yes.
And
Okay.
it's, listen, and I have to say one more thing. Sorry. And I believe if that was eradicated, if we would be able to not get triggered because I'm looking at somebody and I'm white and you're black and I'm not Jewish and they're Jewish, if we could live and be okay with that difference, all this stuff that we're dealing with would dissipate immediately. There would be no hunger, we would have no wars, people wouldn't get abused, because we would be interacting with one another differently.
Yes.
And so that's my goal. I do it on the one-to-one level, I do it on the group level, but ultimately my mission in life is to help the planet function on a different level.
Fantastic. Now, as a woman in business, I am trying to bring amazing entrepreneurs online to share ideas, to talk a little bit about their businesses, how they created it, how they're surviving during this COVID era. Tell us a little bit about your successes and failures in business.
So I started my coaching business officially in 1991. And I tell you, my failure was early on was that I did everything myself, that I spent my time on things that I was okay at because I wanted to save money.
Yes.
And that's a mistake, because it took me a long time to get going. So I when people start People come to me and they say, I want to start a coaching business. And I say a couple of things. Have you been coached before? Oh, no, I don't need that. I'm like, you
Yes.
do need to have that experience. Do you
Yes.
have any training? No. I've coached my friends on the couch for the last 30 years. Do you have any experience in setting up a business? Oh, I will, just wing it. So I say to people, you have to be very clear about what is your intention, what do you want to do, do you have the training, and do you believe in yourself? Again, we come back to the foundation. Do
Yes.
you really, on a deep level, believe that you can do it? And I didn't. And when that changed, my business started to take off, and I moved myself from having 1 or 2 clients a month to, having a 6-figure income, because I changed and
Yeah.
I was able to make the change that was required, and so that I could move forward. So my advice to people is get the help that you need. Be very clear about why you want to do it, because sometimes people want to go into business because they don't like their full-time job, or they haven't really figured out what they want to do, and that's not a good reason to go into business. The way I'm surviving is I am reinventing myself. And as a business owner, we have to reinvent ourselves. Just like Madonna, Madonna, I know Madonna is passé, but over her career, she would reinvent herself, and she
Yes.
will show up differently. So I do everything online now. And when COVID started to hit, I did a lot of online presence that I didn't do before. If you would have asked me 6 months ago how to do a Zoom meeting, but sharing my screen and doing chat rooms, I wouldn't have been able to do it. And
Right.
so I learned new skills. I'm connecting with you, with women, with people all over the world.
Mhm.
So I think we have the opportunity when challenges come to see, how do I want to be after the challenge? When I look back, what was my experience going through COVID? And so
Yes.
I decided early on, when COVID's over, I will say, this is one of my best years. Why? Because I grew as a person, and I grew my business, and I'm better for it.
That is a fantastic way for us to end this interview. There is a magical opportunity that's presenting everybody in the world right now with COVID-19 to literally reinvent yourself. And the world is flat now. I mean, I'm sitting here in New Zealand, you're sitting in Israel, we're having this magical conversation. People are more open and receptive to connect online. So thank you for those tips, for your ideas. I will end with one more thing. If time was an illusion, and as we know, time is just a construct that human beings have put together, so we get to work at 8 and finish at 5. If you could have a conversation with the future you, when you're 100 years old, sitting in your rocking chair, based on how you are living your life, what would you say to her?
I would say a couple of things to her. I would say to her, you're doing a really good job. I'm really proud of you. And um, spend more time meditating, and let go even more. Let go and really trust God to your fullest ability, because that is what you love doing, and everything works out when you do that.
Fantastic. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. It's been an absolute honor talking to you today. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today. Come back again tomorrow. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Wellington, New Zealand, when I bring you yet another amazing guest on the HerStory TV and the HerStory podcast. Have a fantastic evening wherever you are in the world, or a fantastic day. Bye for now.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye.